Hello, everyone. It's been quite some time. I know that it's been. I don't know if anyone listens to my podcasts or if all my subscribers are friends. Same with my art account. I don't know if all my followers are friends or if I have anyone that is actually interested in what I do. But by the way, anyone who listens to, I mainly do this for myself and to get with my friends. Like my buddy's here. Gary.
You're trying to get with us?
I'm trying to get with you.
No, we're
Yeah,
not
You
18
could have just
anymore.
asked.
of course. Gary and Gabe
Hello.
right here.
Hi.
And Soup, of course, who will talk in a little bit. He is still muted. And tonight, by the way, is a special occasion, which we're gonna explain at the end of this video. But I'm gonna put some text at the beginning of this to kind of explain why I'm recording this. But tonight we're gonna focus on the incredibly big discography but a small studio album records from the legendary shoegaze band from Ireland, My Bloody Valentine. So this is gonna be interesting. Um, I think I'm the only one here who has listened to most of their stuff.
I've listened to a lot of theirs. I just don't remember it all that well.
Yeah, I mean they have. It's ironic to say this. They have some of the most memorable things in music and some of the most forgettable things in music. Like
Very fair.
it's really weird. Like I don't know. Like their early stuff is really strange. The band the band as a whole formed on Dublin in 1983. Um but they would just play for a bit and they would start on 1985 with their first album EP, by the way. This is Your Bloody Valentine, which is actually a post-punk and a gothic rock album for any of you. And that's so weird to say because when one thinks of My Bloody Valentine, one links it directly to shoegaze stuff. And we're gonna start to not make anyone uncomfortable with their shoegaze stuff, at least with their dream pop stuff. I think the EP that everyone is gonna recognize, because after this they release Geek, and we're not gonna focus a lot on this material. It's among some of the weakest stuff they've released. It's really early post punk. Have you guys listened to any of this?
I haven't,
not
no.
this or-
So Geek is actually it sounds like a post punk version of music from a cartoon. I don't know if that makes sense. I think that was in one of the reviews on Rateyourmusic, actually. That but I'm not sure. Let me check the page. Yeah, here it is. It sounds like a post-punk version of the music you'd hear in a 60s Hanna-Barbera cartoon. It's literally that because it's all over the place. It doesn't have a cohesive structure. And they would start mainly focusing on this kind of music. They would start with their noise pop stuff on the new record by My Bloody Valentine on 1986. And then afterwards, they would release their first. Afterwards, they would release Sunny Sundays, but no one remembers that one that much. Their first memorable project for me is Strawberry Wine, their first EP that was released in 1987 prior to their first album alongside another EP. And I think this is the one that most people recognize, like one of the most famous EPs. Have you guys listened to it?
I
What is
think
it
I've heard a
called?
couple songs off of it, but I haven't listened to it in full.
It only has 3 songs. It has Strawberry Wine, Never Say Goodbye, and Can I Touch You? Those 3 songs that actually start giving hints of what would come on their first record, which would come later down the line. Because the thing here is, before this point, actually, and ever since this point, I think, one of the most iconic members of the band would join, which is Belinda Butcher, which provides the vocals, the guitars, and she also was a producer alongside. I think everyone was a producer on this fucking band because
Yeah.
Kevin Shields was the fucking Kevin Shields is the front man. He is the the
guitar
vocalist, the guitarist, the songwriter, the producer. But also the bass player was a producer. The drum player was a producer. The engineer didn't do much at all. So it's just
Most of it was the band doing most of it was the band doing their own thing.
yeah, and I think that's some of the things that must be admired by the band because uh they really were the ground for many things. Believe it or not, I consider them one of the first proper indie bands that made a name for themselves
I can see
before
that.
getting a big breakdown. Because they were huge back in the
Fair.
day, and they are still huge in a way. They're one of the most recognized brands in music. It's hard to say like that, but I think they are still touring. I'm not sure.
They
Are
are.
they?
They just
They
toured
are.
last year,
Yeah,
actually, or 2 years ago. Actually, I almost
they're
went to go
actually.
see them.
I would like to go see them because I've seen one of their concerts from 2015, and they haven't changed that much performance
Do they
wise.
still do the like the noise? Like what is it called? They call them the holocausts.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah,
stupid noise jam.
the big 30-minute jam. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
not heard it yet, but I so terribly want to.
yeah, it is like I think they're bootleg because there are a shit ton of bootlegs from this band, and I think we can
Mhm.
all see why because this band started as a live band, and this band will continue as a live band. Uh, and I think it will go on because I wasn't sure if they were keeping recording. After this, they released their record "Ecstasy" on 1987 as well, and "Ecstasy" presented a much more rounded sound. It's 20 minutes, and it's basically what the background for their first major record, which we're gonna focus on. And after this point, we're gonna focus on their projects more because this is the important breakdown they had. Isn't Anything released on November 1988, almost a year after their first the EP Ecstasy. And Isn't Anything to me is a record. It's a great record. Don't get me wrong, but compared to what the band would do, it could have been a lot better. I think it has a lot of ideas that could have been worked out. It has a lot of things that could have been developed into, and that would be developed into something bigger and more, not say epic, but more melancholic to say to put it in a way, because even the titles of the songs are melancholic. Come on, lose my breath, Cupid come,
Yeah,
no more worry, all I need is feed me with your kiss. Come on, it's just a lot of things that could have been improved. But come on, we're gonna go person by person and talk about these albums. Starting with you, Gary, what do you think of Isn't
Oh
Anything?
boy. I haven't heard it in a while, but I tried to listen to it twice in the past actually. Like once, like I think almost 2 years ago, and once, like maybe half a year ago. And both times I didn't. I remember the songs just didn't really come together. They weren't all that catchy. The production, I mean, wasn't all that good or engaging, which is part of the thing that made Loveless so cool was the way it was produced. Yeah, it just wasn't very enjoyable, kind of mediocre.
Hmm, I can, I mean I guess I can see why. However,
Yeah, one of those things that didn't click with me at all.
hmm, Gabe, what do you think of this album? I want to see your take.
so I don't think that it's better than Loveless. I used to think it was better than Loveless. I don't think that anymore. But I do think this is an incredibly solid album. I did some thinking as we were sitting here. I did joke earlier before we started that I had it at a 10. I don't think it's a 10. I think it's extremely, extremely close to a 10 because usually what I'm doing is yada yada 10s are all like, oh yeah, they're like emotionally significant album, mentally, whatever. Like my important albums to me or in general. And I'd say it's definitely a masterpiece. And these two albums, Isn't Anything and Loveless kind of work together. Isn't Anything is sort of like my Bloody Valentine's version of Psycho Candy. That's kind of how I've always seen it. It's more noise pop oriented in terms of the songs rather than the textures, as opposed to what Loveless would do. I still think Loveless has a huge song oriented, front to it, but I don't think it's anywhere near as uh, centric as it is here on Isn't Anything, where you can tell that I think this pretty much fits the definition of the words noise pop.
I mean, I think it's a good start, but I wouldn't call it. Not even at the time, I would call it like I would call it like one of the most important albums for the genre. But I don't think I would call it like basically the definition of noise pop, to put it in a way.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
Okay.
I agree with.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like in terms of in general terms of what they were doing here, what it sounds like. Like if someone were to
yeah.
describe the word, just say the words noise pop, this is kind of what I would think of. That
I
and
mean,
Psycho Candy.
I'm more of it was released in 2010, but it basically sounds like an 80s and early 90s noise pop album, because when I think of the definition of a conventionally like the like the work that exemplifies the genre as a whole, I
Mhm.
think of Sumane by Shinsei Kamachi-chan. It's this Japanese band that released a noise pop album in 2010, and it's basically to me it's the noise pop album. It actually has a lot of similarities to the production in Isn't Anything and Loveless. However,
Hmm.
to me, Isn't Anything is one of the most important albums for the genre. For
I can
sure.
see that
For
100%.
sure.
Yeah, even if I don't like it, I have to agree. Although Psycho Candy, which you were comparing it to, Gabe, is both much better and much more influential. I think.
I don't disagree. I do think
As
that
an
Psycho
album,
Candy is
like
much better than Isn't Anything, but I think that both albums are fantastic.
Isn't Anything is a poorly done Psycho Candy in my eye, or
Okay.
imitation of it.
You can believe that, but doesn't mean it's right. Some of the songs on here that I really love. Opening track, Soft as Snow, of course, fantastic stuff there. No More Sorry, I love a lot too. I can never actually tell who's supposed to be singing on that song, but I cannot tell if that's supposed to be Kevin or Belinda or someone else. I don't know. Very androgynous vocal on that. And of course, the aforementioned, I think we mentioned it earlier, Feed Me With Your Kiss, right? Did we not mention that already? We might have. I don't remember.
Not yet.
Um, I think you did mention that song, like, very, like, right off of the, when you were describing the album and how you think it
Yeah.
could have been done better. Like, I love that song. I don't really know how to describe it. It's like the most stable discussion I've had on this podcast in its entire history. I'm not gonna lie. But,
Yeah.
like usually I'm scrambling for thoughts, and here I am, listing them off. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Isn't Anything is their crowning achievement like I thought for like half a year, because I've always kind of gone back and forth with Loveless, but I'll get into that when we get there. But I do think this album is pretty great still. I can see that compared to Loveless and even a couple of the things they would do on their EPs, it pales a little bit, but I guess it just kind of scratches. I guess it.
I wouldn't say it pales really. It just
Okay.
feels
I would.
like it could have been better in a way.
That's fair. It scratches a bit of an itch for me, I guess. Is all I really have to say about it, is that it's not terrible. I think it's pretty great, honestly. I just said so. Yeah, I mean, I don't personally get a lot of the flack that this album gets. It scratches like a noise pop itch for me, right in between Shoegaze. Like, it's kind of a mix between both. Kind of like I said, it reminds me of Psycho Candy, where both albums definitely set a tone for Shoegaze, but there's been more representative albums. There's been better albums, arguable in terms of Psycho Candy, but whatever. Yeah, that's really all I gotta say about Isn't Anything.
Okay, before we get to discussion of the song, Soup, what is your opinion on the album in general, or a simple liner thoughts, to put it in a way? Before you answer. Oh,
His mic's not working.
Oh, don't worry. You can still type your opinions. Oh, he left. Okay.
I think he's coming back. I think he'll be
But
coming
I
back.
think he will be coming back. However, my opinions is that this at least has one of their best songs to me, which I think it would have worked. Like, if all the songs were like these two, in fact, not just one, two, I think the entire album would have been a lot better, because I think that by the end of the album, it starts to shine a little bit with the songs You Never Should and Nothing Much to Lose. Basically, those two are my favorite songs from the album. And Soup, now that you're here, do you have your
Okay,
basic
yeah, it's working.
basic thoughts on Isn't Anything? Go ahead, my boy.
Okay, I just listened to it like an hour ago, so I don't really have, I don't have too much like a concrete opinion on it, but overall I really enjoyed it. I was expecting more of this kind of like pop oriented, like I don't know, pop oriented, like song structure like mood, and it kind of delivered on that. Yeah, like, and I feel like the straight like the shoegaze songs I feel like are really great. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
One thing that I
I don't
have,
have much to say. I listened to it an hour ago. So.
but can
Yeah.
we really call the? I think it's more like shoegaze aspects and not really shoegaze
Yeah.
songs.
That's kind of why I said what I said, is that it's kind of in between shoegaze, but it's not necessarily. It lays a template for shoegaze, and it definitely marks the. I'd say it probably marks the official beginning of shoegaze. At least in terms of popularity, like in a popular sense. I think there were shoegaze albums that preceded that. Per Prescription by Spaceman 3 got a little bit of it in there, but yeah, I think that's pretty much how I would put it too. Is that it's got a it's not in any way predominantly shoegaze, but it lays the groundwork. So yeah, I agree with that.
Basically, yeah. My problem with this album is that it could have been a lot more developed, and they would develop their ideas even more, like down the line. Like you can see aspects, like the aspects that they present, quote unquote shoegaze, are developed on Loveless. Like, for example, you guys know that the Feed Me With Your Kiss has some shoegaze aspects to it. However, they would be far more worked, like far more developed. Like those ideas are basically to me the groundworks for Coming Alone, on a way.
I can see that.
Yeah. However, I think the album, despite being great on itself, as a whole, comparing it to the discography that the band would put out, I don't think I agree with Gary that it kind of lacks in quality in a way. Like I like by itself it works really well, but as a whole, comparing it to other albums, but to even other EPs by the band, I don't think it works that well, to be honest.
Yeah, the EPs that like sort of sound like it, maybe like EPs between it and Loveless, sort of they have moments that sound maybe more like
And
Isn't Anything
we
than
were
Loveless, but they're kind of better than Isn't Anything.
We were also talking about the fact that they have a shit ton of EPs released between Isn't Anything and Loveless. Like it's for a band, it's unconventional releasing 4 EPs before releasing like your big album. Shit. Yeah, I mean, I don't think, as much as I give this album an 8, and as much as I adore this as a piece of history and influence on bands, I don't take it as an album that we can say a lot of about. Do you get what I mean? Like it doesn't offer you that many things to talk about.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. It's like we can all agree that it at least has some great songs, but that it could have been a lot better. It could have been a lot better. Yeah.
And that'll come, of course, when you most of the time. I can't say all the time, but most of the time, that'll come when only 1 or 2 albums later you make your career-defining masterpiece. Basically. Everything before and after is just going to kind of seem
not. I mean, to me, this is one of the few points where I can really not say a lot about an album before their big break. For example, let's put a fucking lazy ass example because it's the thing that I've been listening to recently. You guys know White Zombie, at least Rob Zombie in a bit. They released LA's Exorcisto, right. but everyone considers them from LA's Exorcisto and not their previous stuff. However, their previous stuff gives you a lot of things to talk about. Even though it's not that great, it has a lot of flaws, and it really isn't that great. Like,
yeah, that's why I said it wasn't really like common. The band that came to mind.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The band that came to mind when I was mentioning that was like Radiohead, like, because you can say just about every album before, except for maybe Pablo Honey, before and after OK Computer, there's tons to talk about for those.
Yeah.
But then you'll have some bands where, let me think. God, I got to think of a true example here. This is hard. If I come up with one, I'll let you know. But well,
no, I can say this. Bands like REM, like for example, after Automatic for the People, I really don't have a lot of things to say about the albums.
Okay, yeah,
It's
that's a good
just-
point. Yeah, that's a good
yeah.
example. Except seriously, not even New Adventures in Hi-Fi.
I could say it's a good album, but it's nothing mind blowing. It's basically REM, but just more of it. Like
I guess, yeah. I mean,
I mean, at that point, I could say, yeah, it has aspects from Document and Automatic for the People who just blended together, and it's more REM, but poppier to put it in a way, and I like it
Yeah.
that way. Basically, yeah. I guess I really don't have much to say about that. But for example,
there you go. That's a good example. That's a great example.
For like bands like I don't know, fucking My Chemical Romance. I can talk about their first album. I can talk about their last album, even though I'm not gonna talk a lot about the Black Parade a lot. Like to me, isn't anything. It's an album that is too clean, to put it in a way. It's too clean because it shows simple ideas that sound great, that don't have many flaws, but that as a whole they do not work with the other.
It's not
things.
impressive.
They don't
Yeah,
work together,
it's not
basically. I can totally
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah, it's not impressive. Basically, it's nothing that would blow your mind. Personally, because every album has people that get mind blown by it. You guys know how it is. For example, our friend Gabe here is mind blown by Exiling Guyville, and
You know it, baby.
I know it. And even though I admire the album a lot, I don't take it as a mind blowing thing. However, I respect it. I respect people being mind blown. Like I am mind blown by fucking Fall Out Boy. So come on, and I'm an idiot who likes prog. So yeah, I'm fucking hypocritical on that. So.
It's all about subjectivity
It's
and
all
about
about
what art means
yeah,
to you.
and to me, okay, so I'm gonna make this later, but to me, My Bloody Valentine has a great work of art and their musical achievement, uh, which we're gonna touch on later. So yeah, to me, those are two different things, and I'm gonna explain a little bit why. Uh, okay, so after this album, anyone else got anything else to add? I don't think so.
No.
Not really. Yeah.
That's for like the EPs and stuff.
No. From Isn't Anything. We're gonna move to the
Oh
EPs.
no.
So after this, we have the EP that surpassed Isn't Anything, basically, in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. In a lot of ways, surprisingly, actually. Uh, actually, when one comes to think about it, it really, it puts your mind on the line, because when one thinks about Isn't Anything, one really doesn't think about something that is really mind blowing as a whole. And I think that is actually a downgrade from the EPs that came before it, in a way. Because before it came You Made Me Realize, Fit Me With Your Kiss. Like those two EPs came before Isn't Anything, if I'm not incorrect.
I think they did, yeah, because if Isn't Anything came out in November, because I know that You Made Me Realize came out in '88, I don't think they would have released two releases back to back within a month of each other.
Yeah, I think. Let me check I think it came out. I know Feed Me With Your Kiss came out on October, and I know You Made Me Realize came
And yeah,
on
it
August.
had to have, because
Yeah.
if Isn't Anything came out in November, well, maybe they put it out in December. I don't.
Yeah. So You Made Me Realize is the EP that came before Isn't Anything, and we're gonna go. This is the only project that I
Okay.
haven't heard as a whole from the band. Like not completely, but I haven't given it a proper listen in a long time to give a. I'm talking from memory here, and if my memory doesn't fail me, I think it's one of their best projects. To be honest, especially with the "You Made Me Realize." That is a like it opens the album. And after that, my favorite song from this album, from this EP, is "Cigarette in Your Bed." However, it's more for personal reasons. And I think I can say that the production on this album, on this EP, is not the best, to put it in a way.
It's it's a little lo-fi. It's on the lo-fi side.
It's almost saying my favorite word rather.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys have to say about this project?
I think it's cool. I like the guitar tone on it. I definitely like the songs. I think are a lot better than Isn't Anything. I like the production is kind of tacky, but I kind of like it. I kind of like the production. I don't think it's anything exceptional, but I think it's pretty cool.
So what do you think of it, Gabe?
I actually have not listened to You Made Me Realize.
Oh damn.
Yeah, that I kind of mentioned that earlier before we started filming. That even though it's the second highest rated EP on RYM, I have not even listened to a single song off of it.
It is the second.
It is the second, yeah, and only second to Slow Riot by Godspeed.
God damn, why? It is a good EP, but don't get me wrong, there are
Oh, they were gonna say why is Godspeed number one? I was like, me too. It's an 8 out of 10, bro.
Oh yeah, I agree with Godspeed. I wouldn't argue with that,
it's
but
not as good as their album.
yeah, I mean, I could see that. What the fuck is wrong with Rateyourmusic? Little Ugly Mane as the third one?
Okay, but that's a good EP. Shut up.
Hey.
I know. I like it. I love
Yeah,
Little Ugly
You
Mane.
have soup in the chat. You can't.
That's a
insult
great
it.
EP, bro.
I have an even compromise at a 9. I love it. I
Hey, me
adore
too.
it.
Okay, good.
But
We agree on that.
but
Fine.
it is not one of the best EPs ever. Why is it so high rated? Jar of Flies? Fuck Jar of Flies. It's not even the most consistent Alice in Chains EP in my way.
Okay. The most consistent what? By Alice in Chains?
EP by Alice
You're
in
right,
Chains.
it's Sap.
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Thank you.
Let's all agree
Thank
with that.
you.
The Beach Boys. What the fuck is wrong with Rateyourmusic?
They don't give a
Elliot
fuck
is-
about EPs. Like,
Oh my god.
We're basically going all over the place because we
Yeah,
need.
this podcast has gone from My Bloody Valentine to riffing on the
You know
RYM
what?
All right, guys.
We're-
guys,
so
what's
we're-
your
we're-
favorite EP?
Oh, what's my favorite EP?
What's your favorite
Okay,
EP?
so
What
we're
would be the
gonna
top
go by order. What is your favorite EP, Gary?
Watery Domestic by Pave.
Watery Domestic. Oh, nice.
By Pave.
By
It's
Pavement.
fairly high up on the charts. Should be higher.
What is your favorite EP, Gabe?
It's
Oh,
tied
God,
between
right.
Broken by Nine Inch
Oh.
Nails and Opiate by Tool.
Okay, I agree. I can see Opiate. Oh, actually, Opiate should be here.
Nah, Opiate sold some Broken One in the chat, okay? Nah.
Okay, so my favorite EP of all time is from Boredoms. It's Super Roots number 7. Either that one or the Vision Creation New Song EP, which has like 3 completely songs and one is live, and I adore it, and it's just fucking great. I mean, the live track is amazing, just fucking amazing. However, I wouldn't call them. I actually would agree that the best EP of all time is by a long shot. Like for its what it achieved on an EP, like on such a short amount of time, the slower ride from Godspeed. I agree with that one actually, but the one that I'm surprised that is not on the charts, that I actually think it's much better than much better EP, the fucking Mystery of Love by Subject Stevens.
By
is
Stevens.
all delighted people should be higher. Because God. Also, why isn't Swans on this list?
I think
Come
Teacher
on.
is like number something. I don't even know. Hold on,
I
what
don't
numbers?
I don't even mean
it is a
dear
number.
Tetsu. I mean things like Young God or for their importance
Oh,
for
yeah,
the
okay, yeah,
genre.
good point.
Yeah. Fucking let me see that fucking list again. I want to see that fucking list again. So this podcast is gonna be all over the place because it's basically music buddies talking about.
You gotta let Soup talk about his favorite EP, bro.
Okay, come on, Soup. What is your favorite EP of all time?
I made the chart. Yeah, the top one is
Little. Oh, Current 93, of course. Come on, how could I forget? Yeah, it's fucking great. Also, that Death Group's one is fucking great. Lesson 1, please. Glenn Bronca should be Fishman's. God damn.
93 EP.
The
Is it the one from the Inmost Light trilogy? Is it one of those?
no.
No, but both of those actually end up in the top.
Yeah.
Oh.
Actually, I haven't heard death metal yet. I should. People have been bothering me a lot to listen.
Oh, I need to do it too.
By Panchico. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. Oh, the Dalek one. I'm surprised to see Dalek there. I haven't listened to any of his EPs. That 9 Inch Nail. Okay, so we need to have a serious talk about why Broken is lower than that because I have.
Wait, what? Broken is lower than what?
Broken is lower than, what was the name of that EP? I don't remember the name, but it released on 2017 by 9 Inch Nails.
Add Violence?
Yeah.
Add Violence, yeah. No, not
I like it more. Okay.
I mean, come on, Broken has the song Broken. Come on. Broken. No, it doesn't have the song Broken. It has Wish. It has Wish and Suck.
Oh my god.
Suck is fucking good. And also Last. Come on, man. This
The entire EP is amazing.
the entire EP is great. Yeah. One thing I didn't like was the fucking fixed remixes that came from that.
Yeah, those are kind of bad.
Those are kind of bad. Yeah.
By kinda, I mean really.
Yeah. I mean,
Coil's not that good for that one, I'm not gonna lie.
I can argue. Also, Fishman's EP should be higher. Should be higher on the list of radio music, because I think at this point we can all agree that radio music has gone pretty fucking based in everything. Like fucking
Sure.
number 5 is David Bowie with Space Oddity, Moonish Daydream, and Life on Mars. And I'm not saying they're bad, but come on, EPs are fucking.
Yeah. They're like extended.
I don't give
These
a
are like
shit.
extended singles of songs that came out way before these EPs even released. So
Yeah, come on.
I don't think they should really be included in it.
Yeah. So, in a way, we can say that I don't know. So with this, we're gonna talk about everything, and we're gonna go back to My Bloody Valentine in a bit. But I don't know what the deal is with radio music these days. I really don't. It's like it's becoming more and more like conservative for some reason. Like people
Really?
think it's a place where it's supposed to be taken seriously, and at this point I don't think anyone should take anything seriously in radio music. Like
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
yeah. I mean,
I've noticed there's a lot less snobs on it now, so I mean, you know, that
yeah,
helps.
I mean, there's a lot more people that fucking like I was so for anyone that on the time that I didn't publish any podcasts, I was suspended the ability to put on to publish reviews for a joke review I did
Oh,
on
God,
the Trick
that
Out
one.
album. You know what I put it? I put if the bass player was a lesbian, she could slap pussy, you know? And people were like, "What is with that lesbian joke? That is sexualizing women. That is sexualizing women." And they reported me, and I was like,
God.
"What the fuck? It's a joke. It's a fucking joke review. Don't take yourself so seriously."
I got a warning for quoting a Guided by Voices lyric.
Oh, I remember that the first day you made your account.
First day I made my account.
Ah.
I had a slur, and you know, it's not even a word I would normally use, but it's like I'm quoting a lyric.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me that you actually you were okay with using that word even if you were.
I was quoting.
Yeah,
Quoting
it's
a lyric.
a quote.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I know,
people-
but I'm just.
People,
I was making a point of the fact that that word was used.
you know,
It wasn't like
there are more and more people that put on their profiles like their entire life history, like, hello,
Yeah.
I'm bisexual, I live in North Carolina, and I don't like cats. And
No, I don't.
my favorite, no, I don't have a problem, but those are the kind of people that go like, you're sexualizing women, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what the
exactly.
fuck?
See, he gets it.
I'm not. I
Like,
never
and look, I am a little bit of a bisexual myself. However, I don't, I don't go around being so fucking conservative on a music site. It's that database that is supposed to make you keep track of the things you listen to. Like, for
I
example,
don't even know.
there are people that want to make their music journalism careers to start here for some reason, and I really don't think you're gonna go anywhere if you start publishing your reviews here, son. I mean, come on, you like, people can pour their hearts on a, for example, on a, like, our friend Silver, and Soup knows this, poured his heart on a long season review, and is one of the best reviews for long season I've read.
I
However,
think I've read that.
the most
Yeah, yeah.
the most upvoted review on long season is, "Hey baby, you wanna see my long season?" And it's just, we're at the point where no one should take this site seriously,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I mean, it's a good. It's I adore what they did for like this site. It's incredible, the database, and I don't think there's gonna be any other site that is gonna rival this amount of music that they provide for everyone. It's just so amazing. Like, there are bands from my country that are on the database. Come on, it's fucking Bolivia. Who fucking cares about Bolivia? Not even I care about Bolivia. It's just and come on, and
it's the crowdsourcing. Is the fact that you can add releases. I think what makes the site, makes the
yeah.
database so
However,
impressive.
the mods are getting more and more conservative for some reason. And I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to say it. I don't want to get banned. But the mods are getting kind of fucking whining bitches with everything that is going on. Literally, it takes days to get a response from the mods. I had to contact the Twitter DM to get a response for my publishing privileges. So, I don't know at this point. I mean,
Maybe they should hire more site mods. Like I submitted a correction for the new Stephen Malkmus album that came out like a couple days ago, and I still haven't gotten anything back on.
Huh.
I mean, I think as a whole, it's I mean, I am not a person that likes to gatekeep. However, when people take like the chart of the 100 most important albums like that seriously, that's when I back off and I say, man, music is subjective. You should just enjoy what you want. Like, come on. Like, for example, I agree more with the EPs by the list of EPs presented by Soup here. I can agree with lists by individual persons that the list of EPs that is presented by fucking Rateyourmusic. For example, you got that Residence EP there, and I fucking adore you for that, because I agree with that 100%. I also agree with the fucking Aphex Twin fucking so much. But why isn't the Square Pusher on this list, man? Wait, I am gonna kill you. Why isn't Square, listen to Square Pusher, you you dumb sexy man? Come on. Why isn't Duckstab on the fucking? I'm gonna.
I don't consider them two separate EPs.
Yeah,
I
I
kind
would
of
say
like listen
Duckstab
to it
is
as a whole.
Yeah, because it's kind of an album, really.
Yeah, but I mean, Duckstab by
Going with it.
itself, I think I take it as an album. Excusez-moi, but come on.
Okay,
it's-
by itself, it's an EP.
Yeah.
I've never seen it really presented as an EP before. Besides that, of course,
Yeah,
most people
but
just refer to the
I
album.
mean, I love You Made Me Realize, but no, I appreciate the historical importance it has. But calling it one of the best EPs of all time, I don't know. It seems kind of exaggerated for me, in a way. I can see why, but not even the production is that good. Like, the production has a lot of flaws. Like, it has its lo-fi production that people like Gabe like, but I like when
Oh yeah, baby.
when a production gives something to the record, which I think, because I have this record at an 8. I don't think I think it's better than it isn't anything. However, I think it still has some of the flaws that were presented on isn't anything. Like it has more a noise pop aspect than a shoegaze aspect, and I can
Yeah.
see why things like Soup. Have you listened to You Made Me Realize?
Yeah.
Yeah. So give your opinion
Listened
in
to
it.
a few times last week.
So go ahead.
Hang on, let me pull up the track listing. The opener I really love.
Yeah, it's You Made Me
I
Realize
don't know.
is
I don't
really
know
good.
how I felt at it. Like, yeah, I don't know how I felt about it at first. It was like it was good, but it was just kind of I don't know. It was a weird direction because this is the first release outside of Loveless that I heard. But listen to it again and again. It's just kind of like this really addicting track. And then Slow is just a really great follow up. You have these like really like soft like drones in the background. Like you have those punchy guitars in the intro, but
Oh
it's really
yeah,
mixing
you know,
with the sound. Yeah, it's
one,
really
one
great.
one thing that I can say, and one thing that pisses me off about that is not so present on Isn't Anything, is that this EP has more guitar presence than anything, and that's a
Yeah, it's
weird
great.
weird thing to say. Yeah,
Yeah, the guitar tone sounds so like crunchy and great.
yeah,
And the rest of the EP follows like it's really solid, and I don't have much to say about the other 3 tracks, but
yeah. I think
the
it.
only thing that like okay,
I only think for an EP it falls short after a while, and that makes me.
yeah,
Yeah. So Gary,
I think the biggest issue here,
what's the biggest
but
issue?
yeah,
By you?
yeah, the biggest issue is probably the mixing for me, especially
Oh.
like in the drums. It's just kind of I don't know. It feels doesn't feel like fully connected to the like rest of the music.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. I'm able to like look past that in a lot of the tracks here. Yeah,
So, Gary, what is your opinion
I
on
think
it?
I have it at an 8.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think an 8 is a more appropriate rating for it than a 10 or a fucking 9. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I think I of course I want to talk about that with you guys later about subjectivity and what it means to be subjective, and what it means to consider for, because people get into arguments for no reason. Like even I do. I show this on this podcast that
There are
people.
different types of arguments, though. There's
Yeah.
like, hi, you're so stupid because you like this, or versus, I like this because of this, whereas I dislike this because
Yeah.
it can be constructive.
Yeah,
Versus,
I mean,
it needs to be
I mean,
honest.
I say this on my profile, and Gabe knows that I say this a lot. That you can argue
Mhm.
about anything, but bring arguments to the table. If you don't have a cohesive argument, you're gonna fall short. Like, of course, I can ask someone, why do you think? I've met people like this. Why do you think Fishman's long season is a 1 out of 10? And they don't have, like, some of them have really like arguments, even though I don't agree with them. I can see where they come from. But people
Right.
that argue just because they want to feel part of something, I have a problem with that. Um, there's also the problem that people think, especially thanks to music reviews now, people like Fantano and fucking music sites like Pitchfork, that if they don't agree with the masses, they're gonna be like fucking feel not a part of the group. I don't know if you get what
Yeah.
I mean.
Mhm.
And they
Yeah, positive or negative.
People
yeah.
feeling
Like
like they have to appreciate certain things.
Yeah, and everything in art, like I don't like a lot of historically important artists in art and literature and shit, and that doesn't mean that I don't have an appreciation for them. It just means that I don't like them. And if I don't like the Doors, I will say that I don't like the Doors, and I shouldn't feel obliged to like the Doors just because they are an historically important band.
And you still
Because
have to acknowledge that they're historically important.
yeah, as I said, I acknowledge their importance. However, I don't like them as a band.
Yeah, I
yeah.
definitely get it. Yeah.
is this a rhetorical argument, or do you really not like
I
the
think
Doors?
timing is okay.
Like
I think timing has a lot to do with things too, because someone can listen to I don't know, like White Light, White Heat by the Velvet Underground, and say, oh, this isn't interesting, this isn't noisy. People are saying it's the revolutionary thing.
I can say that it's better than the self title with Nico.
Well,
Yeah.
I disagree, but that's neither here nor there. But people might say that, but then you realize, like, oh, it was released this early, and this is what it meant for the development of the genre and the evolution of music.
I was gonna talk about this, so I'm gonna spoil it because we're gonna go, in not in order. I consider, for example, now that we were talking about My Bloody Valentine, I consider Loveless to be their artistic achievement, and the self-titled MBB their musical achievement, in a way. To me,
wow.
there is a difference because art, to me, involves as a whole, as an influence not just to music, but to people, and as a connection to what it means to the history of the media. And the media was really influenced by Loveless, and Loveless was such an important album. It is such an important album. It is one of the most highest rated albums ever. It is impossible that if you meet a music fan, he hasn't heard of Loveless at least once in their lives. And you can see why, because this album brought so many new things to the table, production wise, you know, guitar wise. The use of pedals on Loveless is so fucking, like, I come to that use of pedals on fucking Loveless. I come to that use of pedals because it's so noisy yet so clean that I feel that everything has a right to be on the album. However,
it's, one of those instances where the guitar feedback becomes another instrument.
yeah, and the voices feel so, the performances are so good that I don't know. I mean, now we're gonna, for example, we're not gonna touch a lot on the other EPs. So You Made Me Realize has its shits. What do you think of it, Gary? What do you think of You Made Me Realize?
I think I already touched on it. I like it. I think it's cool. Like, I don't think it's exceptional, but I like it a lot more than Isn't Anything as an album, that's for sure.
So besides that, they have the Feed Me With Your Kiss that was previous to this. No, that was later released before Isn't Anything. Feed Me With Your Kiss. Have you heard of it, Soup?
Let me try.
It's 13 minutes. It has.
Yeah, I listened to it yesterday. I don't remember much from it though.
It's pretty forgettable in a way, like to the point where I don't remember a lot of it. However, after Loveless, after Isn't Anything, they released two of their most important EPs. To me, the ones that really exemplify the evolution from Isn't Anything to Loveless, Glider, and the other one that I definitely think is better than You Made Me Realize, Tremolo.
Tremolo, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tremolo.
Glider. Have you guys heard Glider?
Mm-hmm.
So
I have not. No.
Okay, Glider has the 7-minute version of Soon that I love.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna go. Soup, what do you think of Glider?
Okay, I also listened to this one an hour ago. This is just fucking great.
It is great.
Yeah, it feels much closer to the sound of Loveless, and yeah, it's just so good.
Yeah,
I don't have much to say.
You can see an evolution, especially since you listen to it like so like close, like Isn't Anything in this one. You can see the evolution towards Loveless. You can see that they focused a lot more on guitars, and that is what I love. Actually, one thing that is interesting here is that they started putting producers, not every single member, but My Bloody Valentine as a producer and mixing. And I think this is where the band really comes together as a like shoegaze band, because this is their first proper shoegaze project. And so Gary, what do you think of it?
I think it's really cool. I love the version of Soon. I just love the sound overall. I think it's a really cool sound that the first time they achieved like a sound, I think, kind of going in the direction of Loveless, that was really cool. Just you could hear these little melodies. The whole idea of the vocals is a melodic instrument rather than something removed from the rest of the music, as was the tradition in rock. It just has a really cool, like almost underwater, if that makes sense, sound.
Yeah.
It's very dreamy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. What I love about Glider is the fact that in such a short, like in 18 minutes, less than 20 minutes, it conveys more than isn't anything did in its entire like length.
I agree.
Especially with the songs,
Yeah.
with
Just
especially with Soon. I adore this EP. I give it a 9. I actually think it's better than you made me realize, and by a long shot. But however, I think that after this point, they really started to form Loveless as a whole, because you can see that they started working on those aspects from here.
Hmm.
And have you heard of this, Gabe? Have you heard Glider? Not yet, right?
I have not heard Glider. I've heard Soon. I don't know if it's the same version on Loveless or not. I don't.
No,
Is it
it's
the same version? I don't know.
the version of Loveless. I think it's a little bit shorter, and it has
Okay.
yeah, uh, but after
I have
this,
not heard this version of Soon though. I'm what I might actually do now, since I've realized how short these all are. I'm probably just going to listen to them all either tonight or tomorrow, and then when this podcast goes up, I'll leave my thoughts on the EPs in the comments. Just because
okay,
I didn't think they were going to be this short. I was thinking they'd be like 30 minutes a piece.
no,
I was wrong about that. I should have done more.
actually, I don't know why my favorite EPs of all time are fucking hour-long shits, because I don't understand. But usually EPs are 18 minutes because it's the band trying to like trying new things in a way, basically, like
Yeah,
trying to see if the people will like it. You can see it with
that
Opiate, you can see it with other EPs, and yeah,
Broken is a perfect example of that. Very transitional
yeah.
for Nine Inch Nails.
You can see it with Chronic Town by REM. You
Yeah,
can see them
Yeah,
trying.
technically you can. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
their best album. Their
One thing
best.
I wanted to mention quickly. Huh?
Chronic Town is like arguably their best release. It was the
Arguably, yeah, but murmur exists.
anyway.
I mean,
One thing
Automatic
I
for
did
the
want to mention is that
I can discuss that Automatic for the People is a much better album than Murmur, but yeah,
oh boy, here we go. Okay,
What?
okay, we're gonna touch on this for a little bit because we're
yeah,
gonna go.
we're gonna okay. I just want to mention really quickly that while we're still talking about Glider and Tremolos, that I believe the reasons why these EPs sound the way they do is that they were actually recorded during the production cycle for Loveless. I think these are just kind of tracks that were culled from the sessions to appease Creation Records, I believe, so that the band did not fully exhaust their production budget because they already bankrupted the label as it is.
yeah.
I remember reading about that somewhere, and I think they even mention it in the Pitchfork liner notes video for this out for Loveless. So yeah, just wanted to kind of let that kind of float into the air there, since we mentioned that they sound musically similar to Loveless. I think it's because they were. I don't know if this is true, but I think they were kind of culled from the recording sessions for that album.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure either. I'm not so big into the history of My Bloody Valentine. I think
It's okay.
I think their history. The only thing I know is the reason they broke up is fucking stupid, and then they rejoined for because if for those who don't know, they broke up because they didn't like the studio they were recording in, and they had like arguments about it, and the band had a break, and it's just the most why like reason why a band breaks. But yeah,
It's pretty stupid.
yeah. I mean, uh, so before we go to talk about RYM, we're gonna talk about Tremolo that I think everyone has listened here. Have you listened to it, Gabe? Please tell me you have.
No, I haven't heard
Ah,
any of their EPs.
so Tremolo is actually 18 minutes long. Also, it only has 4 songs. However, it has a great version of Swallow and Honey Power that I love because those 2 songs are basically okay. Here we are. This is our sound, and we're gonna fucking explode with this on Loveless, and you can see that. So Gary, have you listened to Tremolo?
Nope.
Soup, have you listened to Tremolo?
Okay. I'm fucking stupid. Okay, this is the one I listened to an hour ago. Glider was the one I listened to yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Talk about.
I have similar thoughts on this one too.
Okay. What I'm gonna say right now is this is my favorite EP by the band. Uh, because it's basically Loveless but toned down. I don't know if you get me. It's
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a
I get
watered
it.
down Loveless
yeah,
almost.
watered down level
Like
of Loveless, because Loveless would explode on all the concepts that were presented on this EP. So now we're gonna talk about the big break, release, epic album of all time. It has more than 30, almost 38,000 ratings on Rateyourmusic, which is fucking insane considering that some albums I listen to only have 400 ratings, and it's like, wow. One of the most well-known albums of all
yeah.
time, one of the most iconic covers of all time that I actually adore because
Me
Oh, I
too.
love that
Yeah.
I
album.
love the album cover.
It's actually my profile picture in my like school email.
my profile picture on my school email was a Pikachu with an Ahegao face.
Oh boy.
Oh
So,
my god.
Hell yeah.
hell yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah.
So Loveless came out on November 4th, 1991, and to me is one of the most historically important albums ever made. There's no doubt about that. There's no argument about that. The importance of this album, even despite the fact that you may like it or not, and we're gonna touch on that subject soon, you have to admit that the importance of this album is big. This was the big break of the band. This was the album with the big songs, with the songs that everyone knows, with one of the best, arguably one of my favorite starters on any album. Only Shallow. Only Shallow explodes,
Songs about.
explodes, and it explodes on your face. And
It's one of the song's most iconic like drum openings.
Yeah.
Like the forehead.
da 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 da. Yeah, it really, like, this is, to me, isn't anything was their most noise pop, like, basically, but this is that noise pop but expanded upon with shoegaze elements, basically. And I can certainly say that this is one of the best albums of all time. It's not one of my favorite albums of all time, but
Mhm.
it is one of the best albums of all time, and I don't think anyone can argue on that, because the importance of this album is so big, so big. Was actually one of the favorite albums of a friend of ours, Carrie, who this podcast is dedicated to, and I remember that at least the people that joined the servers we're in, they either listened to this, the Beatles, or fucking Radiohead. And yeah, and that, like, this is the one of the most well-known albums of all time. If you're a music fan, you know about the existence of this, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna say my opinions on it a little bit, but I want to hear your opinions first. What is your opinion on it, Gary?
Oh boy, we're starting with me. Okay, so I have Loveless at a 10. I think that and I love My Bloody Valentine's just sound that was cultivated on those EPs, but the way it comes together on this album is with in terms of how it's sequenced and all the songs that were composed for it and the way it was produced is it just feels, it's one of those albums that just feels so so right. Like, yes, I understand why this is an album. It's hard to talk about without just saying, yeah, it's really pretty. It's dreamy. It's this
No,
sound. It's this sonic landscape.
I would like to say something based on what you said. I think that is the perfect description for this album. It's pretty. It's one of the
pretty.
prettiest albums you can
It's a
ever
pretty-
listen to, because not only the lyrics but the sound of it, it's so sweet despite being so noisy.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of beautiful. I mean, like, it's interesting to kind of track that maybe through indie music throughout the 90s, where examples of noise rock bands playing more melodically, like something like Dinosaur Jr. on "You're Living All Over Me," where you'd have a point where it's Jay Mascis playing pure noise. It's actually in this melodic context, you know,
The end of Tar Pit.
like the end of Tar Pit, or even just the beginning of the album with Little Fury Things. But I mean, like that's a cool sound on its own that I love. But Loveless is just the way it was done on this album. It doesn't even sound like guitar noise anymore. It sounds like it's feedback on its own instrument, and that's, you know,
So
with guitar music throughout the years and throughout the 80s especially, it feels like the pinnacle of it. The fact that this genre of like alien, beautiful dream pop music was created using, you know, noise from guitars that wasn't even supposed to be there in the first place.
yeah, I agree with a lot of things you said. Actually, I really think that anyone can't. I don't think there's anyone that can say this album brings a lot of new stuff to the table. Like it grabs its dick, puts it on the table, and says, "Come on, it's me." And it's so fucking big that everyone can admire it because there are so many new elements on this album. Especially, we were talking about this before. This album is structured on a so flawless way. Like every song flows so perfectly to the next one, and the way it starts so fucking explosive and it ends on soon, I think is one of the best like progressions on an album there's ever been.
So cool.
Yeah. So, Soup, what do you think of Loveless?
Yeah, this was a really this is just a fantastic album. Again, the opener is just really just fantastic. Like, I don't have much to say. It's like brings you in such a like beautiful like world almost. Um, I fuck.
Don't worry, man. Um,
um,
what do you feel when you listen to this
I'm
album?
just gonna go track by track on my thoughts on this.
Okay.
Okay. Opener, Only Shallow. It's really vast, just mind opening, just sound beautiful. There's this much like down, kind of like continuation almost, I feel. And then I was talking about this earlier, but Touch and Here Knows When. Both those together are just
I think Touched was
my favorite.
contributed by the drummer, if I remember.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. It sounds good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it serves as this like really great almost interlude to, and it just like brings in To Hear Knows When. This beautiful drony. And then When You Sleep is just undeniable.
It's
Beautiful.
like When You Sleep is a great pop song.
When You
underneath
Sleep
all
is
that.
my favorite song
Yeah.
on the album. Why?
And then
Because
same
my
with
third favorite.
I Only okay.
yeah, because I want to make a what is your favorite song on the album, Soup?
Oh yeah, I said it was To Hear Knows When and Touch. Just kind of those two combined.
My favorite song on the album is actually
Thank
When
you.
You Sleep because to me that is one of the sweetest songs ever made. You can dedicate that song.
It
Oh
is.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's my pick as well.
Yeah.
And then I
continue.
Only Said that one's like
Ooh.
just really great. I don't feel like it gets the attention. I feel like it's kind of. And then side B, I don't have as much to say as this side, but tracks like Sometimes and Blown a Wish are just
Oh yes.
really beautiful, just really great. And then the closer Soon is just so catchy and just so great.
Soon is so
Yeah.
soft. I honestly
Yeah.
adore this album so much. But Gabe, what do you think of the album? I want to touch on something after your opinions.
So for me, Loveless was actually one of the first indie albums I ever listened to, all the way back in 2017. Jesus, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I'm talking year and a half, maybe 2 years even. I thought it was an amazing album, but I did not think it got anywhere near the level of hype that it receives, because at the time I was not interested in a lot of noisy music. I was interested in mostly, when I thought of noisy music, I thought of like very very regular metal, because I was a music virgin at this point, and to me there was no such thing as anything heavier than Metallica and Slayer. So
See,
I was listening to this album, and for a long time I just listened to Only Shallow and like I Only Said, like on repeat. That would be it. All that I listened to from the album. And I eventually came around on it again, and I re-listened to it. And I'm like, okay, this is amazing. I love shoegaze. This is great. And it only took me until very, 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 very recently, like I'm talking maybe even earlier this week, that I've realized that it really is just a 10 out of 10 in every sense of the word. Because I don't like to bandwagon when it comes to albums. I really don't. And I'm not bandwagoning with this either, but I almost did for a long time, because I just felt like I was missing something.
Yeah.
I felt like there was something about it that was just not hitting me, and I was not in the right space to be listening to it. And I'll be like, okay, it's good, but it's not incredible. And I'm realizing now just how incredible it really, really is. If I really had to describe it, I think like the washes of sound on this album. I don't do drugs, so you'll have to bear with me here with this next analogy. But
you don't do drugs, the fuck?
it makes me kind of feel like I'm, depending on when I'm listening to it, it makes me feel like I'm almost leaving my own body. Especially I Only Said and Sometimes. Those two songs are my favorite on the albums. Those are my two favorites. Those songs just kind of take me somewhere else. And I think if I had to compare it to one album, it's an album I mentioned earlier, mostly as a joke, but an album I mentioned earlier, if I had to compare it to how it feels and how it kind of lifts me off of this physical plane of existence, to sound way, I'm not trying to sound like cringy or weird, but I think the only other album that can really do that is the Perfect Prescription by Spaceman 3. And it kind of gives me a very similar feeling, which I already have seen that many people think that the Perfect Prescription is a very good, it kind of seems as like the druggiest album ever. I think Loveless is also as comparable as that, at least in terms of just how mind bending it is every time you listen to it. It's so well produced. The sound on this album is incredible. I've never heard such noisy music with such clean production.
So I wanna bring something about production here that goes alongside with something posted just right now, because it actually is something that I wanted to talk about. Noise in general. One of my favorite projects ever, and Gabe knows this, and everyone that has seen my tents knows this, is Tokyo Anal Dynamite.
Yeah.
By Daguerre Gary Gegege.
Yeah.
And when people think about noise, the most they can think of is this kind of sub projects, like shoegaze, noise pop, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think even though this is to me this is a perfect shoegaze, I don't think it falls so much onto noise. I think this is more a proper shoegaze album. However,
shoegaze is a genre that makes use of noise.
It's naturally noisy, but I would not say that Loveless is in any way really a noise album. It just kind of has noise elements to it that are worked in to the shoegaze elements.
I mean, okay, before we move on from Loveless, I want to say Loveless is one of the most important works of art in music, like historically important works of projects in general as a whole, that has marked an entire generation and that still keeps on marking people. Why? Because it has really iconic lyrics. It has a great flow. It's one of the most accessible albums you can ever listen to get into music. And yeah, I mean, I think people adore this despite it. To me, it has a couple of flaws, okay? Even though I say it's one of the best albums of all time, subjectively, because everything will always be judged by a subjective point of view, I don't think... I think Blown a Wish doesn't work that well. And What You Want doesn't work that well. However, Soon to Me is a really great track, a really great closer. And even though I think the album flows flawlessly, I think Blown a Wish and What You Want could have been a little bit better. However, I agree with that. This album is fantastic. I love it. I have it as a 9. To me, giving an album a 10 is like Gabe said, and that is my point. When someone gives something a 10, it really shouldn't matter. What should matter is the thing you put a 10 to. Because I can put a 10 to fucking Little Dicky's mixtape for my own reason. For my own reasons. And I can give you the best arguments in the world, but it doesn't matter because it's my own point of view. What I give it 10 to is I try to make my opinions as objective as possible, but I end up having more subjective points of view than anything else. Why? Because everyone listening to the album will have a different experience. I have met people that call Yellow Loveless better than the original. I've met people like
Let's
that.
talk about Yellow Loveless, by the way.
Let's talk about Yellow Loveless a bit. Yellow Loveless was a tribute to My Bloody Valentine, done by it's it's mostly known because Boris participated on this, making an 8-minute version of Sometimes, and I don't think it's that good. I think it fails at a lot of points.
Well, it's a compilation, so some of the songs are not going to be that great, but some of the songs, it's different bands doing each thing.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite cover from this album is Lemon's Chair to Hear Knows When. The 11-minute version, what they did there was really good. I think. And the When You Sleep cover, I don't remember the band who did it, but I like it a lot.
Shonen Knife.
Yeah.
It was Shonen Knife. A really cool cover. The Boris cover of Sometimes is also beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't remember which band it was. There's one band that did like an electronic thing for one of the songs. I just remember that element. I think that was interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we can all agree that Loveless has influence. Like, for example, so many people in Japan, and when a work gets that much range of acceptance, you know that it's an important work for music. Like when you see Japanese bands, like one of my favorite Japanese artists, Shina Ringo, covered "Smells Like Teen Spirit." So and I don't think Nevermind is the best Nirvana album, but I think it's their most important release. Do you understand where I go with this? I think there's a line where people can acknowledge the most important works on a medium. However, when it comes to subjectivity, one doesn't have to feel obliged to like something just because it is historically important. It happens with Loveless. A lot of people, especially people that come to our servers, saying like, "Oh, I don't like that much, but I'm afraid to say it because I'm afraid people will judge me because I don't like the Doors, I don't like Zeppelin, I don't like."
Bro, screw being judged, man. Just like whatever you want to like, because trust me, I've done that with plenty of things. More shameful things, but I've done that with plenty of things.
Like, come on. I mean, I'm not gonna judge you for your music taste. I mean, I've met people that are so-called music fans that write reviews for everything, that rank every single album, and I really don't care about those people that are trying to show off their musical knowledge in a way. I really don't care because when you're trying to show off something, why do you do that? There are a lot of people like you. Music and art as a whole is a medium that is to like disposition of every single person on earth. Anyone can listen to anything at any given time. And for example, Soup is younger than me, and Soup has a lot of musical knowledge, more than people that are so-called music fans. Like he has his own list of favorite EPs, and when someone gets to that point, you can say that someone is a fan of music, and I literally can admire that. Yeah, like I think that's really cool because people that treat people with respect, I would respect more than people that try to show off how big their dick is online.
Yeah, like I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you meet the most people, they have like huge music collections, but they're assholes. And then of course the people that have like a little, they can have knowledge and also still be respectful in the conversation and have nice debates and discussions about music. That you don't find them that often.
Yeah. For example, I've met a lot of prog fans, and prog fans have a bad reputation online because
Prog fans can be a little cancerous.
they're usually. I'm a prog fan and I'm not cancerous. I mean, a little bit, I think, but not that much.
Nah.
I mean,
You're pretty good about it.
I've met people that try to shove prog up your ass so bad that I really don't understand. Like why you're trying to be so. Why are you trying to make a genre so well known? Or, for example, Radiohead fans. Some Radiohead fans get up your ass because they say Radiohead is the best band in the world. And look, man, I like Radiohead a lot, but I really don't care if you think they're the best band in the world. I would care if you were like, man, have you listened to this album? I think you should listen to it because so and so and so, and you show a passion about it. However, I've met people that think they have an obligation to recommend an album, an obligation to listen to something, when really it is you listen to whatever the fuck you want to listen to. Like, if you people feel bad because they don't have many ratings on Radio Music, who cares? Literally, no one cares. It's your own space, and for example, we were talking about this earlier on the podcast, that there are some people that put their entire lives on the profiles, and I don't care if you do that. I only care if you're rude with me and you go with a cunty like position on life, and you're trying to get offended by everything. Just enjoy music. Just enjoy art. Just enjoy listening to albums. Be respectful, and expand the limits. Like, if you have friends that ask you for recommendations, give them to them. Make them listen to bands they would never listen to. Try to get them into new shit. That's how you get fans. However, like, for example, I recommended people Holding the Heart, like the project from Gabe here, because
yeah. Shameless little plug there.
yeah, because and I've met people that would love to listen to that kind of music. However, I am not fucking bitchy about it, going like, oh yeah, I know this band by my friend that has 4 ratings on Radio Music, and you should listen to it more. And it's like, no one cares. Just not about your music, but no one cares that you know
Right.
that band. No one cares that you know this kind of shit, because how many people have you guys met in your life that have the opinion of, I know more than the like average person on earth?
I know quite a few people who are like that.
What about you, Gary?
I know. Yeah, I know a lot of people like that.
And you, Soup?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, I'm surrounded by other 17-year-olds, of course. I know people who are like.
however, I consider that Soup is one of the most educated people and most funny people that I've met online. And
Agreed.
yeah,
Agreed.
and he literally shares his opinion. Like, he may be a little shy, but you guys should see him typing. He really is fucking hilarious. And the thing with everything is that he really treats you with respect. And even me, I don't. When you meet me, I don't tell you right off the bat that I have 15K ratings on 15K ratings on Radio Music, because no one
It'd
cares.
be a weird way to introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's a weird way to introduce yourself.
Hi, what's your name? Hi, I have 50,000 ratings on RateYourMusic.com. Oh,
Thank you. I didn't know that. But yeah, I mean, Loveless is an album that you can either love or hate, but you at least have to acknowledge the historical importance of it. And you're not obliged to like it. You just have to acknowledge that a piece of art can have and has had a historical importance. Like, it has had such an importance that bands still cover the songs today. So, you know, I think Loveless is one of those albums that will stand the test of time. But people should not feel obliged to like it. Not at all.
I actually have kind of like a personal experience with this. My best friend and I kind of clash with a couple things when it comes to taste, and he's not really a fan of noisy music or music that's really, like Loveless. And I recommended him the album, and I don't remember if he liked it or hated it, but I remember that I think, in this kind of context, there's a pretty... It's nice to have a divide sometimes because it adds a bit of variety, and it allows for other opinions to kind of enter the discussion, because if everyone all loved the same albums, that would get boring really quickly, and there'd really be no room for discussion. It would just be the same circle jerking.
Yeah, exactly. That is my point.
I mean,
because
it's great to have a group of people who love the same albums or the same music in general. You know, that's always good. You know, it's nice to have a community. But I think that if everybody were to like the same album instead of, say, you know, 5 people like this one and 6 people don't, or 6 people like stuff and 5 people don't, I think that kind of thing gets a little repetitive at a point, because, you know, it closes a lot of gaps for discussion, and it's kind of sad to see that most people just kind of get shamed for having different takes, even if it's not even a joke. Because I mean, usually when we're talking about takes we don't like each other, it's all joking, because, you know, we know that music is subjective. But I was belonging to an internet community for a while, Discord server. I've been in there like 2 years, but they were pretty close-minded, and it kind of, I don't know what the word is. It kind of warped my perception of people that I could talk to music about, because there was a huge sense of elitism, and
like, for example,
yeah.
We were part of this server that was basically a community of people from RYM that
Oh,
Oh my
God.
god.
they all join, and they all go with the high shit, because you can see people that are trying to get attention with their music tastes when no one really cares. All you want
Is
to
this what they call Zoomer humor?
hey boys, do you listen to Frank Zappa? I listen to Frank Zappa. Come on.
Imagine celebrating ignorance.
Hey guys, do you know this obscure band? This really obscure band called Swans. They have this album called To Be Kind, I think, that is really underground. I think you should all listen to it. Like, right now, people are really influential, and people can get influenced really easily. You know, people like Fantano have, I mean, I can respect the man, but he has done more to me personally. He has done a lot of bad things for the community. He has
Really?
incentivized the perception that if you don't like this album, you're gonna be bullied and you're gonna be, you know, disliked by people. I've met Fantano fans a lot that say that if you don't like To Pimp a Butterfly, you're a fucking jackass,
Oh my god.
because
God.
Fantano said so. And I was like, I really just want people to enjoy music, you know? For example, if I want to listen to Fall Out Boy and give it a 9 out of 10, I'm going to listen to Fall Out Boy and give it a 9 out of 10. And I can defend myself. Like, that's my point. If you can defend yourself, and if you're polite and respectful with others about your music taste, I'm 100% about that.
That is exactly how I feel, because I've got some very hateable takes,
I have
but I have reasons for them.
everyone has hateable
I
takes.
mean, like,
I can say things like, you know, objectively, like one of my worst takes ever. I can say that objectively, David Lynch is one of the most mediocre directors of all time. I can
Oh,
say
man.
that. I can say that because he's really
I'm
hit or
heading
miss.
out. I'm heading.
What? Or I can say that Robert Soul is overrated. And are you gonna hate me for it? No, you're not gonna hate me for it.
I mean, I'll yell at you as a joke, but I don't hate you as a person.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, for example, you guys, and I know I circle jerk my circle of friends a lot, and you know that you're one of the cutest and most polite people I've met online, because you all have a good musical basis on historical and the bands you like, and you'll explore music and the music you like, and you do it not saying I listen to Jeff Rosenstock, I'm the hot shit, I like to get sad on Sunday mornings, and you know, you don't go like that. You go like, yeah, I like Worry a lot. That's it, literally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I can make a case for you, not just like I like this album and you're lame.
Literally, I mean, I've met a lot of, especially with albums that have high ratings, like Loveless and fucking OK Computer. There are some toxic fans that say that if you don't like OK Computer, if you don't like Loveless, you don't like music. What kind of take is
That's
that?
yeah, that's terrible.
What kind of
Yeah.
take is that? Like, I
If
can
I ever say that, it's a joke.
if I ever say that Pink Floyd, if you don't like Pink Floyd, you're not a prog fan. I'm joking because I'm not a prog fan. I just like prog, and it's just like I really like. But like I mean, we can all talk about music all day long. We can all talk about people all day long. But in the end of the day, if you're not polite, you're not gonna be remembered by many. You're just gonna be that cunt that talked about certain band in a really cunty way, and no one wants to be remembered that way. I don't think that anyone wants to be remembered that way. But yeah, I mean,
We didn't even talk about the 2015 album.
Uh,
God. I think
this podcast has just gone off the rails so much.
Yeah.
yeah, but come on, it's a podcast where we talk about being nice to people, and you know who was nice to people? People like Carrie, who did like our friend Carrie didn't like certain people, but she always treated everyone with respect, and everyone liked her because she was so nice. However, even though you may not have agreed with her in a lot of things, even though you may not agree with me in a lot of things, and even though I may not agree with people in a lot of things, if you're respectful, I will respect you even though I don't agree with you.
Mm.
That's my point.
That's me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like people who just say, "Oh, this is bad because I say so," or "This is good." Well, yeah, or "This is good because I say so." Like, no, I kind of want it. I want to hear your reasoning for it. You know,
Yeah.
that's something as a very amateur reviewer. That kind of thing really speaks to me. As in, you know, I like getting people's understandings of albums.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a very simple reason, like, oh, it didn't click with me, or it didn't, you know, I wasn't really feeling the music. I'm okay with that. I just
Yeah,
don't want to hear,
exactly.
oh, it's bad because I
You
say
know,
it is.
I am also a novice music writer. I really like writing about music. But and you guys know that. However, I mean, you guys have seen my my Demon Days review from Gorillaz. It's fucking long. I put my heart on it. However, in the end, people that have their opinions as the hot shit, as the basis for the society to work, that is when I get, you shouldn't have your ego so far up your ass, man. Like, people that think their artwork, because they are cartoonists, they have the right to have the biggest ego in the world, and they fake memory loss. Come on, man.
Oh,
Come on,
God.
you really are not the hot shit. You're just.
Hey, that's strangely specific.
Yeah, it is. You know,
I don't think he will listen to the podcast. Not at all. I mean, come on, guys. He has memory loss. Come on. He's not even gonna remember who you guys are. Just
Hello, Jack.
Yeah, dementia.
yeah, dementia.
He's dementia.
I keep doing that like that poof sound, and I don't know why.
So yeah, I mean, my final point linking this to Loveless is that even though Loveless is one of the most important albums of all time, you shouldn't feel obliged to like it, or for it even to be your favorite My Bloody Valentine album. Do you get me? Like, you're gonna have your own opinion about it, and you shouldn't feel bad about having, like, saying isn't anything is your favorite album is fine, but you need to argument on it. You need to give reasons for it, and if the reason is just that I like it a lot more, that's great. You're given a reason for it. You just don't have to be a cunt about it. If you like it or not, you don't have to go like, oh, people like this because it's popular. No, people don't like it just because it's popular. People like it for a lot of reasons, and it's popular for a fucking reason. So yeah, going now to the rail we were working on because we were so far off. The band separated, and 20 years later, they rejoined, and they released their self-titled album MBV on 2013, and which was a surprise. And as I said, this is my favorite album from the band, even though I don't consider it be their most important release. This is my favorite album from them because I think they toned it down in a way that they still work even after all those years. Do you get what I mean? Like, uh, Gary, you listened to this album?
It.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just remember it sounded it was sort of Loveless-esque, with kind of maybe some more synth parts if I remember correctly, and there was one song on it that I really like. Let me pull up my download. I think it's like the third or second track.
oh, so Who Sees You or Only Tomorrow?
The track that was a really catchy one.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember much else.
So Soup, have you listened to this album?
Yes. Hang on.
What do you think of it?
Computer's acting up. Yeah, this one was really great. Again, it's kind of hard to talk about these like albums, but kind of in between these like lushness of Loveless and like catchiness of Isn't Anything. And yeah, I feel like it'd be like right in between, like kind of like in terms of like enjoyment, it'd go like the top would be Loveless, MPV, and then Isn't Anything. It's just really solid. I need a lot more time with this. I only gave it just
So Gabe, have you listened to this album?
No.
Ah, damn. You need to.
suck.
I did not prepare for this at all.
You need to.
It's not good.
I know. Okay. I'm usually pretty good about it. This time I was not. I am sorry.
No, don't worry.
It's all good.
I mean, we went all over the place, so you're not far off, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can say something that we can all see that this album was basically showing that the band still worked even after all these years. Like, I mean, they're still touring, and I just found out that for some reason. And Gabe should go see them because he lives in fucking United States and he can, but I can't. And yeah, I mean, people should actually give this one a try. Like, I encourage you, Gabe, to give it a try because it's basically Loveless with more synth. But
I'll definitely
Yeah,
check everything out.
yeah, there's like drum machines and stuff. It's
Yeah.
really well incorporated.
yeah, exactly. I mean, they experimented a little bit, but they did it in a way that they still showed that the band worked as a whole. And I can admire
Mhm.
that a lot. And I really love this
Yeah,
album.
it's still like entirely like a My Bloody Valentine album. It's
Yeah.
really well.
And actually, I say that this is their musical achievement because it's basically the pinnacle of everything they worked on the 90s, just brought to a more modern and more approachable approach, to put it that way. Because, not all music has to be approachable, but if a band decides to make their music like more listenable, to put it in a way, I'm all for that. I'm really all for that. Touching on that subject though, uh, we don't we at this point in time, and based on the community and radio music, the community in general, we really shouldn't, like, the conventional conceptions of music are not the same as they were, because we have things like noise, harsh noise wall, onkyo, and a lot more genres that are just full on noise on your ear, exploding and just being fucking, all over the place. However, people call this not music, and I've seen people hating My Bloody Valentine because they think it's not conventional music. It's just a bunch of noise with no sense, which I don't really get. I don't get the critic.
No, that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah, like we've got to a point where there are concerts of people sampling the same shit and dancing around like minions for 30 minutes. So we don't know what music is anymore, and no one should fucking stop and say no, music has to have harmony like fucking Ben Shapiro fans do usually. And
God, yeah, that.
yeah, I don't know. Music has got to a point where it just keeps on experimenting, and records like this, like Loveless, show that there was a starting point for this in the 90s. And I actually adore this album because it showed that a band could make a fucking noisy album, but at the same time being accessible for the masses. And I can respect that a lot. I can respect that a fucking lot. But yeah, I mean, with that, conventionally a short podcast where we went all over the place.
It's been like 2 hours, bro.
Yeah, it's been 2 hours. How long has it been? Let me check. It has been 1 hour and a half, so it's not that long. However, we really did touch on this a lot. Um, and I'm sorry, guys, for all the ones that are gonna listen to this. Which I basically,
Yeah.
at this point, I don't assume people listen to this, so I'm just basically with my buddy, my pals, talking about music-related subjects and art-related subjects, to put it in a way. But, yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk with Gabe a little bit, saying that Automatic for the People is better than Murmur, and that we're
Oh
gonna
boy.
discuss about that later on a later episode of this podcast where we'll talk about REM and who knows, maybe the importance of fascism for Italy and Germany on the 40s. I don't, who knows at this point? No one knows. No one knows. But yeah, I mean, two final messages. First of all, listen to whatever the fuck you want to listen to. Be respectful about it. Be a nice person online. Listen to whatever you want to. Expand your musical horizons. Expand your visual horizons. And just enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, you're not gonna fucking be happy with what you listen to or what you read to. You shouldn't feel forced to listen to Led Zeppelin if you don't want to listen to Led Zeppelin. Like, people say, hey, yeah, AC/DC is trash. Okay, nice opinion, but they were a huge influence on the media, and you cannot argue that. And you cannot argue that they have some of the best rock songs of all time. Like, you cannot argue that. Like, can any of you tell me that you don't have at least one favorite AC/DC track?
I certainly have one.
What about you, Soup?
Sorry.
So, do you have a favorite AC/DC track?
I haven't listened to much of like. It's okay.
So, Gabe, Gary, do you have a favorite AC/DC track?
I'm sorry.
No,
Why not?
I don't really like them. I'm sorry.
See, and that's the thing. You cannot like a band, but you can be like, I just don't like them. I'm not gonna say they're trash.
I respect you for
Exactly.
liking them.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I'm not buying what they're selling.
Yeah, that's the thing. You need to act like that. You don't need to act like the fucking. It's trash. I don't like them. They're not my style, and they're shitty band, and they haven't made anything good or worth of value. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, and just respect their historical importance, man. Come on, just respect that. Without that band, we wouldn't have a lot of shit nowadays. But yeah, I mean, just enjoy music and enjoy my Bloody Valentine. In the end of the day, to me, it's one of the most famous bands ever that will ever exist. One of the most important bands ever for our current state of music and of rock in specific. So yeah, I mean, do you guys want to say anything before we finish?
Yeah, I just want to say like there's a definite difference between respecting an album and like liking it,
Yeah.
and I feel like people don't get that. It's like
Yeah.
it's two separate things, you know. Like I mean, one of like things that people are like bitching at me about is my opinion on In the Aeroplane
I
Over the
knew.
Sea.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
what?
I'm not a fan of the album. I'm just I don't know. I don't like it, but you know that's just my personal opinion on it. And like, do I feel
I have
you know,
had
its influences deserve?
okay,
Yeah, for sure.
so I have
it is a very influential album. Like, what it kind of caused, you know.
So, you guys know that I have Good Morning, Good Night at a 10. Good Morning, Good Night at is one of those albums that
Yeah,
turntable music, it's noise, it's high pitched noise that is organized in a way, and
yeah.
that to me is one of the most calming albums I could listen to. And if you listen to the album, you'll find that weird, but it calms you down so much. And I have a like I've had people tell me that they hate me because I give that album a 10, and that I don't appreciate real music, and I'm like,
Okay.
what? Why?
Yeah.
Can I just talk about Good Morning, Good Night for a second? Like,
Talk about
I
it.
hear people call it like very like calming. I hear people say it like just EII in general. Like I heard people calling it like very soothing. It's like this is spooky.
It's a spooky
Like
music.
it's just
Like,
like it puts me on edge.
I mean,
It's so
it's a,
unpredictable.
yeah. For being a noise album, like with one pitch shift sound repeating over and over, it changes so subtly that you feel surprised, and I always feel surprised. I can never see it
Yeah,
coming.
yeah.
However, it
But
relaxes.
as an album, it's really great.
It's a great album,
I
yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Because
Yeah.
at this point, we really don't have a way to define what modern music is like. We have things like basically anti music, and of course, we have literally minimal music done with paper. We have the disintegration loops, which is basically a tape repeating over and over.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and at this point, we really don't have a thing to call music anymore. Music is anything that can be listened to that has some sort of rhythm or sense in the way that it's listened to. And Rateyourmusic is a database for everything album related, and there are fucking things like the that are there. Therefore, there are base on music. There are bases on music, and people really get offended when people like Harsh Noise Wall, and or either they don't understand why people can like that.
So here's the question: how would you guys define music?
To
And
me,
just put
Oh,
okay,
God.
so
here.
to me, there are three types of things that I want to clarify before this. We've got to a point where we cannot create something new because everything that can be created has been created. However, right now music is more of experimenting with everything that has been created. Do you get what I mean? Like we're having
Of course.
more experimentation than anything, more blends of styles, more unique sounds to put it in a way. That doesn't mean that there are new sounds. Like if you listen to the new Sewer Slot album, is basically what a lot of DJ mixes in the '90s were just on crack. Basically, is that on crack? However, right now, music to me is basically that the experimentation with sound at this point. It can, like, of course there are separate ways to describe music nowadays. There is the basis where we can describe something that has rhythm, harmony, musical theory, and everything in between put onto
But
us.
that feels like such an antiquated definition.
Yeah,
At
that is my
you
point.
can always
That is my
you
point.
can always present a genre that breaks those boundaries, but you
Yeah,
still have to call it
my
music.
point is my point was that it is one side of conventional music nowadays. However, there's the other side that is experimentation that wants to break that boundaries. Avant-garde. You know the definition of avant-garde. A movement that is an artistic movement that stands about something, usually an ideology or a new perspective on art or a certain aspect of culture. It started on jazz musically, but it has its fundaments on art, like movements like suprematism, constructivism, Destigi, and that shit that made art with simple cubes, and they sold it, and they sell by millions because it's a new movement that breaks the boundaries of what is conventionally known as art. Instead of being something so complex and that has a basis on theory and formation for years, it's just a fucking cube on a fucking what is the name of this? I don't know the name in English, on a fucking wall that is sold by millions and is still considered
Yeah.
art. Same goes.
It's a cube on a wall. It's paint splattered on a canvas. It's a picture of a fucking soup can.
Yeah. You know why that is art? Because it's something unconventional and it is basically a creation that breaks the boundaries of it and it surprises everyone. Because
It's
right now we've got to a point where we don't know certainly what music is right now. That is the thing.
yeah.
There are a lot of things that can be considered music. And when it comes to noise, I can say that most people won't like it, most people won't feel attracted to it, and most people will not, definitely not, see it as music. However, we've got to a point where the conventional, like, perceptions of music and musical theory, which are still accepted, like the musicians as a career with formation on musical theory and shit, are still a thing. However, we cannot argue that artists like Merzbow or Boredoms or fucking Hijokaidan and the entire music scene of harsh noise and noise hasn't had a big influence on, and on it basically grabbed everyone by the balls and was like, okay, so what is this? Is this music or is this just noise? It depends on the person. It depends on the person. And to me, music right now is something so undefinable, then we cannot catalog something as this is music and this is not music. Anything can be music. There's music made with paper. So, yeah.
I think it's just anything that's like in the audio form. It's
Yeah.
something that you experience by hearing, and it's presented and put together in a certain way.
For example,
Like
years ago, my sound collages that I make would not be considered music because it's basically using elements that are not composed 100% by me. However, they're a piece of music in my opinion because I want to bring up an experience to the listener that has rhythm and that has a somewhat of a feeling to it. And I think music nowadays relies a lot on that, on the feeling, the ambient, and what it makes the listener feel, basically.
mhm.
Yeah.
It's like and then there are a lot of people where if you present that definition of really any artistic medium to them, they can say like, oh, what if you fart into a microphone and put it on a CD? Is that music? And
Flint already did that.
To that, I mean, yes, but to that I say yes, it is music. Is it good music?
No.
That's up for debate, but it's music.
I mean,
It's
it goes with me.
It's
I've
a
met
fart.
I've met people that and Soup has met people that ask themselves why can people like something like Good Morning Good Night or the Geru Geri Gegege. People that say that that is not music, that is just noise. And I can go like, haha, but it has a basis on music. And the artists that make it have a musical theory background and they know what they're doing, even though it may just sound like fucking chaos out of nowhere. And yeah, I mean, right now, if someone asks me what is music, I would basically answer them, what do you mean? In what sense? In the conventional way or in the more traditional contemporary way? Like right nowadays, we don't have a clear definition of what music has become. Basically, music is still something that can bring you something like rhythm and something that stays with you. However, we don't know what will come in the next few years. We don't know if we will have music made by robots. Is music made by robots music or is it something programmed, basically? Like we don't know at this point.
We don't know what scientific advances might bring new sounds to.
So yeah, I mean,
forward.
I guess that's a good point to stop. To just say that we don't know what music is. Listen to whatever the fuck you want to listen to. If you want to listen to cats moaning on a microphone for 30 minutes, go ahead. But at least argument why you like it. Just give arguments of why you like it. That's all I ask. In general.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, basically. And yeah, I mean, this has been Music Buddies. I don't know what episode it is. I don't think it matters anymore. We're gonna keep doing this sporadically. So yeah,
It's always
an
episode
where
23.
it's always episode 69, boys. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh
I
baby.
said
yeah.
episode 23, but sure.
Hey, it's episode Condor, of course, a special.
Condor.
Shoot,
Yes,
that's his
God.
age.
So, this podcast, I'm sorry for anyone that's listening for the entire rambling we had, but I mean, this is a podcast where music buddies come and just talk about whatever they want to talk about, be in a band or whatever. And I hope you guys, if you ended getting to this point, enjoyed it. This has been dedicated to a dear friend of ours that has passed away recently due to unconventional reasons. And we dedicate this to her, and I hope she rests in peace finally. And we all love her, and she was an example of how you can be nice to everyone and respect their opinion and still being a great person, basically.
Hmm.
Yeah. So dedicated to her. I hope you guys enjoy this. It has been a very pleasant night for me. Really, guys, I always enjoy doing this. Thank you very much. Gabe, Gary, and Soup, you're all great, and I love you all. So have a good night, and please, or good morning, or good afternoon, or whenever you listen to this, and take care.